There are many video game characters that are near and dear to my heart, either because they were there when I started or they elevated my interest from not only just wanting to play them, but understand the intricacies of their development and the stories being told. These characters are heroes to me, helping me through my lonesome childhood and leading me to become the man I am today. And among these virtual heroes, there is one that has truly stood the test of time above many others. This blue motherfucker. Sonic the Hedgehog is one of my favorite gaming icons, and though he may not be the most significant blue game character to me, he certainly did leave a longer lasting impression on me as a kid, more so than any others, especially that plumber dude. The first Sonic game I ever owned was Sonic Adventure 2 Battle on the Nintendo GameCube, and it was such a fun first experience to be introduced to the series. Though not my favorite of the series now, back then the variety in gameplay, awesome soundtrack, and admittedly hilarious story and characters made me a fan frame one. From there, I got Sonic Adventure 1, which I ended up liking even more, and even ended up getting the Mega Collection on the GameCube, allowing me to play the older games, leading to me playing what would become my favorite Sonic game of all of them, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And the rest has been absorbed by the life clock. I have played basically every Sonic game, no matter what platform, console, portable, McDonald's toy, it doesn't matter, I've had it at some point. But then suddenly there was a dip in quality around the mid to late 2000s that hurt the Hedgehog, leading to many mediocre to just straight up bad games that would end up hurting the guy's reputation as the years passed. Every now and again you'd get a game that would spark a new interest and revive the franchise, only for the next game to bring that interest back to near zero, causing some to believe that Sonic was maybe just a tired concept and that his design could not be adapted for new modern consumers like Mario's so easily could. Fast forward to 2017, the newest title in the series at the time, Sonic Forces, would be such a disappointment that it left Sonic fans in the gaming community wondering if Sonic, specifically his modern 3D outings, Mania had come out not too long before that and it was amazing, would never bring back that fun, solid experience that most had in the past, specifically with the adventure games. Fast forward again to 2021, it's been 4 years since the last major Sonic release outside of some forgettable spin-off games, and Sonic Team teases their next big project in the most standard, non-hype way possible. Yeah, that's Sonic. He running, he doing what he do, and that's it. Okay. A couple months later at the Game Awards, Sonic Team gives us another sneak peek and reveals the game is going open world, and we finally get the official title, Sonic Frontiers, coming out holiday 2022. Okay, cool. Gotta wait another year, but fuck it. Better to wait for a great game than to rush out a bad one, you know? From that point up to release, the promotion was a bit rough. What especially wouldn't help was IGN revealing a first look at gameplay and it looking less than desirable. However, promos would pick up, and the more of it we saw, the more polished and interesting the game began to look. Eventually, the day came. Sonic Frontiers released on November 8th, 2022. The day before God of War Ragnarok. A clash of titans indeed. However, amidst the overwhelming talk of God of War's stellar sequel, there were inklings of people who were actually singing Frontiers' praises, saying that it was a fun, fresh game and that it's the best game in years. Either way, eventually I would pick it up and play it myself, and that's what brings us to today's video. I have played and finished Frontiers, and I can say without a shadow of a doubt that not only is this a great Sonic game, but it is also a great new beginning for what could potentially be a new path for Sonic's future to tread and blossom from. I would like to explain in detail what and why this game gets so much right as an evolution of the franchise, and how it works moving forward for both the new and old generation of Sonic enthusiasts. So let's jump right into it and talk about Sonic's latest grand adventure.
I'm here, reaching far across these new frontiers. With my life, I fight this fear. In my hands, I hold the ones I love. Walk forward through the cold tide. Always the new horizons.
The story takes place, I'm assuming, sometime after Sonic Forces, as Eggman seems to be trying to tamper with the Ancients technology he's found on this group of islands called the Starfall Islands. There, he attempts to unravel their technological secrets using his new AI program, much to his regret, as it backfires on him, leaving him trapped in some kind of technological limbo. Soon after, Sonic, Amy, and Tails are on their way to investigate the islands, seeing as the Chaos Emeralds have all been drawn to the island for some strange reason, when suddenly they are sucked through a wormhole into cyberspace, where Sonic alone is the only one who is able to escape back into the real world. When he wakes, he hears a voice telling him that he needs to collect the Chaos Emeralds and use their power to stop the giant robot titans on each island to remove the barrier between reality and the digital world. As he starts his journey, Sonic finds his friends are trapped in cages, their bodies stuck between the physical world and cyberspace. By the way, Knuckles is here too. Oh, I'm sorry, Nux. I will never not call him that anymore. He frees them from their imprisonment, but upon releasing them is corrupted by the energy keeping his friends trapped. Then he learns that their imprisonment is the work of the AI program Eggman created to learn the secrets of the Ancients' technology named Sage, who is trying to save Eggman as he is trapped in cyberspace as well, much like Amy, Tails, and Nux. She cautions Sonic to leave the island, saying that his defeat was inevitable, commanding the Titans and other robots to attack Sonic. But of course, Sonic doesn't give her the time of day and decides to just prove to her she's wrong through his actions rather than words. As you progress through the game, interacting with Sage, your friends, and the last of the Ancients whose essence now reside in these stone effigies called Coco, you learn more about the islands, the cyberspace and its purpose, and the Ancients themselves, learning that they are actually an extraterrestrial race whose planet was destroyed by this being called the End. Turns out that they were the ones who brought the Chaos Emeralds to Earth, using them to flee from the End, thereafter settling their civilization on the Starfall Islands. But the End pursued and began to wipe out their newly founded civilization, causing them to use their creations, the Titans, to seal the End in cyberspace using the power of the Chaos Emeralds. Meanwhile, you experience Sage's character as she begins to change her opinion of Sonic, empathizing with him in his quest to save his friends, wanting to assist him and not be enemies, like how Eggman says, believing it to be the one way to save her creator. Sonic goes on to defeat the three Titans, Giganto, Wyvern, and Knight, and disables the towers that control the boundary between the digital and real worlds, freeing his friends and even Eggman, but at the cost of him becoming corrupted and stuck between dimensions. This also frees the End, which enacts a plan immediately to destroy the Earth using the last fourth Titan Supreme. Sonic fucking died. Again. Tails, Amy, and Knuckles, realizing that Sonic is the only one who can stop the End and end all of this once and for all, sacrifice their physical forms again to free Sonic from his corruption. Sage also decides to provide assistance, persuading Eggman after to help as well in finding the scattered Chaos Emeralds in an admittedly great dialogue exchange between Sonic and Eggman. After collecting the emeralds one last time, Super Sonic takes on Supreme, defeating it and freeing the End from within. Sage then possesses Supreme herself, and her and Sonic go to space to pursue the End in a game of vertical Gradius. They face its true form and seemingly defeat it once and for all, but the End goes kamikaze and is about to self-destruct, taking Sonic with it, leading to Sage sacrificing herself to stop its last deadly attack, asking Sonic to look after her father. Yes, her father. Sonic returns victorious, his friends are restored, and Eggman is left to ponder on his daughter's, yes, daughter's, sacrifice, but is later shown to have somehow revived Sage using the technology of the Ancients that he procured on the islands. And that is the story of Sonic Frontiers. I really enjoyed this story in its entirety, as it is legitimately compelling from beginning to end. It is excellent in how, unlike the previous titles, it advances the characters and lore of the franchise, acknowledging and connecting past events, showing how they have affected the world, characters, and their motivations and actions moving forward. Seeing characters you've grown up with each having these different yet similarly and intimate relationships with Sonic, while also having them making critical decisions within their own lives moving forward past this game is surreal for a Sonic game, but also refreshing, as for the first time it really feels like these characters have truly grown, making it pleasing for longtime fans to see these characters have grown along with them, while giving new players a chance to connect with these characters from a newly established perspective narratively. And the best part is they didn't have to edgelord it up to make things feel more mature. Well, at least these parts. Connecting past events to elevate characterization for characters that seem to never age before this point is really captivating and cool to see as a longtime Sonic enthusiast. You don't understand how crazy it felt to hear Sonic and his friends mention things like Station Square from SA1 and the Eclipse Cannon from SA2, while also mentioning characters like Cream, Silver, Blaze, Jet, and even mentioning a character from the goddamn comic books. I was floored by how well they fit into the overarching plot of Frontiers in relation to the characters' development and their relevance to their current predicament. The moment when I saw the Ancients design and realized, oh shit, that's Chaos, what the fuck? All these things came together and just made a story that left me very satisfied, impressed, and in some parts emotional. It was great. Ian Flynn, you and your writing team killed it. Good stuff. The game consists of you as Sonic traversing through the 4 islands that make up the Starfall Islands: Kronos, Ares, Chaos, and Ouranos. On each island, you must find the Chaos Emeralds and use them to defeat the Titan of said island, bringing you one step closer to saving your friends. On each island, you navigate a vast open zone, collecting many different types of items and solving puzzles that help you progress throughout the landscape to acquire said emeralds. The items you collect are rings, experience points, seeds of power and defense, memory tokens, portal gears, lost cocoa, vault keys, and purple coins. Rings ultimately function the same as they did in previous games as essential health. However, there is a difference in the way that they are utilized outside of their central function, as if you collect a certain amount up to your current ring level cap, more on that later, you actually enter a powered up state where you move faster. It's also really cool that it is seemingly a direct reference to the live action Sonic movies that came out recently. Doing this allows you to traverse the landscape faster, making backtracking and even combat a breeze in most cases. It's a welcome bonus for not only collecting the required quota of rings, but also keeping those rings through not messing up in platforming challenges or fights while in the open zone. Experience points are what you acquire through fighting in most cases and contribute to unlocking new moves for Sonic to use in combat itself. Each move adds a new layer to the combat, which starts fairly standard for Sonic, but eventually evolves into a more fun experience after unlocking moves like the Phantom Rush, Homing Shot, and my personal favorite, the Sonic Boom. Each move you unlock gets a tutorial right after you unlock it so that you can become accustomed to the move, how it works in combos, and how to use the move effectively. Overall, they help in allowing for new possibilities and ways to defeat enemies, making the combat not only less arduous, but also more fun to participate in often. Next up are the red and blue seeds of power and defense. These 2 items can be found usually as rewards through the island's challenge puzzles, strewn about in crates and on top of high ruins, or can be rarely found by using your side loop ability in certain areas of the map. These 2 seeds allow you to visit Hermit Coco, who will upgrade Sonic's levels of power and defense based upon the amount of siege which you have, and mainly affect his damage and stamina in combat. These are useful in the case of wanting to collect skill points or even portal gears from Guardians and random groups of robots, as like upgrading your skills. It makes combat faster and less arduous to do. You're never challenged so hard that you need to upgrade your stats substantially, but it is more in the guise of a self-convenience rather than a requirement for the player. Overall, I'd say it works for the type of game Frontier sets out to be, and ultimately works with the design of the game. Also, in addition to island challenges rewarding you with seeds, they also reveal more of the map as you complete them, allowing you to not only find more points of interest for other items, but also reveal other challenges and opportunities to get more seeds. If you do all the island challenges, you unlock the full map and the ability to fast travel between cyberspace portals, which we'll get into later, but it is incredibly convenient depending on how you are approaching the game. Anyways, moving on. Memory tokens are the most abundant item you will find on the Starfall Islands. They are spread out singular amidst many platforming sections throughout the island and can be found by side looping random glowing areas that can house many different types of item, but can potentially house tokens in higher abundance. Each token is different on each island, representing the character in question's personality, love, duty, and wrench. You use memory tokens to interact with friends and Sage in certain areas on each respective island in order to exchange dialogue with them, fleshing out the story, characters, and their current state of mind as the story progresses. It was easily my highest commodity, as I wanted to experience more of the fun dialogue characters share within the game, not to mention the platforming challenges more often than not being very satisfying to complete. You may also sometimes have moments with characters that lead to a mini game involving that character, which were very rare, and honestly kinda glad they were, as I felt they ruined the pace of the game for me a bit. Easily the part of the game I favored the least. It was just weird to have all this focused platforming design and then all of a sudden be required in some cases to do an escort mission, play Galaga, or play a random albeit cute game of Spinball once. Spinball. It's all worth it for this though. I love that. Nonetheless, like a majority of the collectibles, you are not required to collect all of them, nor do you have to act on all these character events, but you will have to collect enough tokens for the few times it is necessary for progression. I loved their function as they got me more immersed into the game the more I collected, which led me to prioritize token hunting, which is another point for the design of the game in my personal opinion. Portal gears are items you retrieve from fighting Guardians, basically mini titans. You have to collect these in order to access cyberspace portals. The quota usually jumps between 1 and 3 to unlock the portals depending on the difficulty of the stage. Anyways, accessing cyberspace portals puts you in a standard Sonic level harkening back to previous games, most resonant with the design style of Generation and Forces, except they're good. Don't worry, I wouldn't set you up to suffer. They are short and sweet, platforming focused levels that come with a set of challenges. Completing these challenges allows you to acquire vault keys, which are very important in that they are required to access vaults housing Chaos Emeralds. If you complete all challenges within a cyberspace level, you get a bonus amount of vault keys, which makes getting the Chaos Emeralds a non-issue. It also helps that cyberspace levels are not really all that difficult, I would say, as I S-ranked all of them, completing all of the challenges without much issue, say one particular level off the top of my head. Going back to portal gears, defeating guardians can be arduous depending on the type of guardian and your current level of power and defense, but if you are keeping up with your levels and upgrade your skills and combos, they shouldn't be a problem. Only 2 particular guardian types were trouble for me, and that was the Caterpillar and the Ghost, for those who want to know. Around cyberspace portals and large structures, you'll find Lost Cocoa also, which you can collect and bring to the Elder Cocoa to level up your ring and speed stats. In my opinion, the most important stat upgrade in the entire game is speed, fittingly, as upgrading your speed allows for easier traversal and faster combat. It was the only stat in the game that I ended up maxing out between the 4, as I felt the ring level was irrelevant in most cases, not really affecting the overall play, and I was not disappointed. Speed is integral to the experience of a Sonic game, and they made sure you felt that with this stat. I don't mind his base speed in Frontiers, but leveling up the stat to max and having the bonus ring speed without needing to worry about losing it upon getting hit was awesome as hell. Plus, I mean, we gotta go fast, it's a Sonic game. However, Cocoa are the least simple to find in most cases, and in terms of the island, you never find them in abundance, which brings me to the last collectible. Purple coins. You find purple coins throughout the island in random locations, but usually around island challenges. Sometimes you will come across a cyberspace portal, which turns out to not be a cyberspace portal. It's actually a fishing spot. Enter the portal and you are taken to a random real-world area where Big the Cat shows up and offers you try fishing. Okay. Fishing is one of my favorite parts of this game. I know, it's weird. You didn't expect me to say it. I didn't expect me to say it, but it must be said. I cannot honestly put into legitimate words why I love it either. It's so many things. The lo-fi-esque theme, the calm atmosphere, Big, the in-references to Sonic games, the straight-up homage or steal involving another game, Big, fishing not being annoying to control as it is one button cast and catch. Big. It just works. And not only is it great as a break from the process on the main island, but it also rewards you for doing it. Fishing allows you to acquire tokens depending on what you catch, which you can trade for every item type outside of emeralds. Tokens, cocoa, seeds, rings, in abundance, no hunt required. There are also egg memos, which are basically audio logs of Eggman talking about cyberspace, Sage, the ancients, and the island, Sonic, and other stuff that makes for fun extra dialogue and character development for Robotnik, since he's not as present within the game as Sage. Not to mention, you can catch rare items like gold tickets, which forego the token price for whatever item you choose per ticket, and the Hermit and Elder Scrolls, which if you catch allow for fast travel to the Hermit and Elder Cocos whenever you want from the fast travel menu of the map once you retrieve them. Purple coins are few and far between, so you're not fishing to a 100% file, but it will cushion the grind a significant bit. I strongly recommend, no matter if you end up enjoying the island grind like I did or not, go fishing. It is convenient, calming, and amazing. Seriously, Sega, Sonic Team, give Big a fishing spin-off with this vibe. I'll take 50. Motherfucker caught that on his first try? Beginner's luck. And after all of that, collecting tokens, seeds, rings, completing challenges, fighting all manner of robots, running around the entire island, you get to it. The 6th and final Chaos Emerald you need before you can face the Titan. You approach the looming Titan and climb it Shadow of the Colossus style. You retrieve the last emerald on its body, transform into Supersonic, and then it begins. These Titan boss fights are the ultimate reward for braving the island's trials. They are so well choreographed and really make you feel super powered. The visuals on the QTEs and cinematic attacks are stunning, and every single Titan fight left me with a goofy ass grin stretching from ear to ear. They made me feel like a kid playing the adventure games again and experiencing Supersonic for the first time. They're unapologetically edgy DBZ rip-off fan shit, and I don't care. I love it. It immediately made me think of all the Sonic fan stuff with swords and seizure-inducing visuals that I used to live off on Newgrounds in the mid to late 2000s. Specifically, Super Mario Bros. Z and Nozzle Unleashed lived rent-free in my head after each Titan fight for some reason. And the music, we'll get into the soundtrack a bit later, but man, did they kill these vocal performances. Kellen Quinn killed his performances on every track of these fucking boss fights. Undefeatable and Find Your Flame. Enough said. Download it on Spotify. So anyway, as a whole, I think the gameplay of Frontiers is actually fantastic. It really shows that Sonic Team believes in this new design style for Sonic and wants to pursue evolving this open zone formula over new future releases. In my personal opinion, I was skeptical at first about an open world Sonic title, but after experiencing it for myself, I can honestly, confidently say they have sold me on this new style. It allows for the game to have a feeling of fullness in terms of its content and the degree of stuff to do and collect, without it ever feeling overly repetitive or stale, as nothing overstays its welcome and you desire to do these things the more you do them actually. The game, after all of my sessions of play, only took around 25 hours to complete 100%, which is, I think, very good for the type of game this is. Not to mention, Sonic himself feels great to control and maneuver in the game, no matter if it is in cyberspace or the open zone, nailing that sense of freedom and fluidity that is not only synonymous with Sonic as a franchise, but Sonic as a character as well. The only thing I can say in the guise of what would have made it better is the ability to play as the other characters in some fashion, as opposed to them just being dialogue, which from what I have seen of the content roadmap for this game, they are addressing, so kind of a moot point. Frontiers is a great game. Play it. You won't regret it. Although, if you're this far into the video, I guess you may not, so just know it's a good time. I wanted to talk about the graphics last because I feel when it comes to Frontiers, it seems to create the most division within the community, involving those whose opinions differ on the game's look. I personally think that while not having the graphical splendor that comes with a game like God of War Ragnarok, Sonic Frontiers still manages to look pretty good. I would say more so in its environments rather than its character models and animations, outside of Supersonic and some of the more cinematic cutscenes, but even still, overall the game was not in any way, shape, or form bad looking. There were some times where the characters' lip sync was off from their dialogue, and a lot of the dialogue interactions are very stoic in nature, with just two characters standing motionless across from each other, not to mention the obvious pop-in issues which were noticeable. My statement regarding these things is this: could it have been more polished, prettier, and stable? Yes, no doubt. But was my experience hurt by the lack of a completely stable and peak presentation? Not at all. I personally feel that what this game lacks in certain aspects is outperformed by what this game does right. Sure, there is pop-in that can be distracting at times, but I also never had a lag or a crash or an overly long load time because of the pop-in. Not every cinematic is flawlessly animated, but the performances of the voice actors in stoic scenes more than make up for the lack of movement in every scene. In fact, I feel it makes the more cinematic moments hold weight, as they both in relevance to the plot and the progression of the game are effective in being more important and memorable. I am not justifying the lower end efforts of the game, but I also can't help but feel people can be harsh towards developers when they don't meet the modern standards in terms of graphical fidelity in comparison to AAA titles with way higher budgets to play with. Sonic Frontiers is not a AAA title, more like a AA title with a AAA appeal. And for a AA game that is changing Sonic in a way that's never been done before, I can't help but feel like I gotta give it a pass for nailing what was important: the game. Presentation is important, but it's not everything. And Frontiers, in my opinion, still is satisfactory in its presentation despite its blemishes. Sorry for the rant. Moving on to the soundtrack. Music is very important in video games, especially open world genre games, as it is a key factor of immersing the player into the story world and gameplay. The Sonic franchise is known to have some of the best music in gaming history, and in most cases, even if the game is crap, it's always got great music. Therefore, I am happy to say that Frontiers also nails it in its musical arrangements throughout the game, and may honestly have my favorite soundtrack of the year. The ambient, mysterious feel you get from the island themes as you explore abandoned ruins, temples, and mechanisms really adds to the atmosphere and vastness of it all, evolving in composition the more you complete tasks and progress on the island. Meanwhile, the Cyberspace levels give you the feel of traditional Sonic music, but with a modern twist with EDM-like beats and tracks with vocals that I swear are inspired by Sonic R. The themes when fighting robots, specifically the Guardians, make you understand the impending threat of these machines born from ancient yet highly advanced technology, while also having rhythms that hype up the player, encouraging them to take down these formidable foes. And need I even mention, of course, the boss themes again, with their stellar vocal performances and metal as instrumentals combining with the gameplay to really make you feel like a truly unstoppable force in the most cathartic way as you effortlessly beat them down. This is probably not the ideal Sonic soundtrack for some people in some areas, but nonetheless, it's not about making a soundtrack indicative of your character, you make a soundtrack indicative of the entire game's theme. And Frontiers' soundtrack does that in spades. It is a soundtrack that takes you on as much of an adventure as the game itself, and, you know, honestly, I think that's the best way to describe Frontiers. It is an adventure. Not just any adventure, but a new kind of adventure that really made me feel like a kid again without relying on blatant nostalgia pandering like so many other things do. For years, Sonic enthusiasts and fans who grew up with the Hedgehog always wanted to see what a third adventure-style game would be like. Then we got Sonic 06 and that, well, you know. The adventure style got put to rest after Unleashed, a game I personally loved, but I can understand people's gripes with it. I'm not a furry either. Sonic Team would move on from it in favor of the boost formula combined with the classic style's return, which, while always fun, made me feel a little sad. The games are great, and the ones I grew up with were there when they needed to be represented, but they weren't what I wanted. I always wanted a successor to the adventure formula that made such an impact on me back then. A new version of the games that made me a fan in the first place. Come to now, and after numerous mediocre to terrible games, cash grab spin-offs, and successful movies, only after finishing this do I finally feel like Sonic is back. My Sonic is back. 3D Sonic is back. At least for the moment. I loved Frontiers, and I really feel like Sonic Team finally understands what Sonic can and should aim to be moving forward with the current game industry's landscape. All I can do is hope now that the next game is an even better adventure than this one.